Uh, Jai Hind, Brigadier Hemant Mahajan, welcome you to today's discussion on history of India's maritime and coastal security. Firstly, I take this opportunity to thank KAMRI, that is Kanoji Angre Maritime Research Institution, for giving me an opportunity to talk on various facets of India's maritime and coastal security. KAMRI is a think tank which is based in Nashik and is doing a very good job of various researches on coastal and maritime security. What we propose to do in the next 1 year is to talk to you directly once in a once in a fortnight and speak on issues which concern various facets of our maritime and coastal security. Uh, KAMRI is not only based in Nashik, but it also sends its volunteers, its students, etc., to do a fair amount of research work in the coastal regions of Maharashtra. So therefore, they are very much connected with what is happening at a ground level. Before I talk of India's maritime and coastal security, I'll firstly touch upon very briefly on India's national security. When we talk of India's national security, it means security of your land borders, security of your sea borders, security of your uh, space borders or air borders. Okay, as far as land is concerned, we have nearly 16,500 kilometers of land borders, which is guarded by army and various other central armed police forces or paramilitary forces like the border security force, the Assam Rifle, etc. As far as the space border or the air borders are concerned, obviously it is the Indian Air Force and air defense arm of the Indian Army and the Navy which guards it. As far as the sea borders are concerned, there are three major security agencies which are present right now. They are the Indian Navy, the Indian Coast Guard, to some extent police, and then there are multiple agencies involved in guarding our coastline, including Army, CISF, Intelligence Bureau, etc. Uh, Before I touch upon today's topic, I would like to cover up some important issues which came up in the last 1 week. The maritime and coastal security is a very dynamic topic, and almost daily some important activity takes place which has an effect on India's maritime and coastal security. For example, just today is the second day of Maritime Summit 2021, which Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi addressed yesterday. What is the meaning of this summit? What effect it has on India's security? How it will revolutionize the blue water economy? We'll analyze this in a moment from now. Also, there was a news item today which said that India, for the first time, is going to supply BRAMHOS missiles to Philippines. Philippines is a country located in Southeast Asia, and today it is very unhappy because it is facing a lot of maritime challenges from China, which claims that whole of the coastline, uh, whole of South China Sea belongs to it, and obviously the South China's neighbors like the Philippines, the Indonesia, Malaysia, then of course Thailand, Vietnam, they don't agree with it. So therefore, there is a problem. However, since China is a much bigger country, so therefore they keep on bullying their Southeast Asian nations. And now, for the first time, India has taken an offensive action by deciding to give its maritime missile called BRAMHOS, which will be given to Philippines. Obviously, it will improve their coastal security tremendously. Not only that, in addition to this, there was a talk of uh, the Quadrilateral Cooperation, which held its virtual meeting just last week, in which countries such as the USA, Japan, Australia and India met and discussed many facets. Now, quadrilateral cooperation is not only a maritime cooperation, it is cooperation at the level of collecting intelligence, economic cooperation, technological cooperation. You name any facet of of relationship between the two countries, it includes that. It's a very important bulwark against China, and we must build upon the quadrilateral cooperation. I will now very briefly touch upon the Maritime Summit 2020, 2021. This is the second time this summit has been held. The last one was held 2 years back. If you look at India, it's a peninsular country, meaning it has got sea from three sides. We have, if you look at the Indian map, on the left of the map, you have the Arabian Sea. On the right side, we have Bay of Bengal, and down south, we have the Indian Ocean. Not only that, our coastline is roughly 7,600 kilometers, and we have two set of island territories. One is the Andaman and Nicobar Islands located in the Bay of Bengal, and we have the Lakshadweep and Minicoy Islands, which is located in the Arabian Sea. These two set of islands are very strategically located. For example, the southern tip of Andaman and Nicobar Islands is barely 150 nautical miles from Malacca Strait, which is a choke point, and nearly 70% of the world's trade, including China's trade, passes from this strait. And in case of a war, it can be blocked there. We are also located next to very good choke points such as the Strait of Hormuz, from where nearly 75% of oil of the world comes up. All the trading routes, the sea routes, pass from the Indian Ocean, and India is in a very good position to block the sea routes, especially of China and Pakistan, should a problem come up. Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, when he addressed the Maritime Summit, he basically said that as far as we are concerned, sea offers you tremendous amount of opportunities. Geography has been very kind to us. It gave us a long coastline. However, we did not use the geographical advantage. We looked at the coastline as a problem, and a lot of illegal activity such as terror attacks, etc., were taking place from the sea. But if you look at the human civilization, you realize that the human civilization prospers at two places. One is the fertile river valleys, such as the Ganges Valley, the Indus Valley civilization, the Brahmaputra Valley civilization, etc. Or second is the coastline. All the great powers were maritime powers. So India has a right to become a maritime power. We must have a good maritime economy. Therefore, what Prime Minister said was that there are four C's which are important as far as maritime cooperation is concerned. First C is connectivity. Now we are using the sea to get connected to the northeast. Today I would not be able to show you a map, but if you take the route by road to go from Calcutta up to Agartala, that is Tripura or Mizoram, the distance is nearly 4,500 kilometers of land route. However, if you go by sea, that is from Calcutta, you go to a port in Myanmar called Sitwe. From there, 200 miles along the Kaladan River, and then you enter state of Mizoram. Less than 600 kilometers, you are inside. So tremendous opportunities open up when we open up the Kaladan project, which is actually from the sea. So connectivity to northeast will tremendously improve with the help of inland waterways, either from Bangladesh or also from the sea. Okay. Second is the cargo handling capacity. Our Indian ports used to be a bottleneck in the earlier days. Any ship which came for unloading to a port like JNPT, that is Jawaharlal Nehru Port Trust, would take about 6 to 7 days. Now that time is reduced to 2 days. That means because of modernization, because of Sagarmala, things have improved drastically. And cargo handling is increasing at the rate of 6.4% every year. Third point is command and control. Our location is such that all the choke points in the world, be it Strait of Hormuz, or be it Strait of Malacca, or be it other straits, we are very conveniently located. And the fourth part is the cooperation with all maritime powers. It must be understood that sea is a heritage of human race, and everybody must utilize it for the benefit of human race. And this is exactly what we are doing. We have exercises Malabar now with many countries. We have exercised Milan. We have the Quadrilateral Cooperation, etc. So therefore, cooperation on as far as the maritime domain is concerned, it is tremendously improving. There should be no doubt on this. The this particular Maritime Cooperation Summit, which is taking place, is a virtual summit. It is actually connecting nearly 100 countries. There are 1.7 lakh participants from 100 nations who are participating in it. And yesterday was the first day, today is the second day, and tomorrow is the third day, in which there are 115 international speakers from 24 countries, and this will ensure that our maritime economy grows very fast, because this summit will tell them as to what all opportunities which exist in India, be it in the field of ports, be it in the health of maritime clusters, renewable energy in the ports, maritime skill development, maritime financing, maritime insurance, etc. This actually, this seminar is still going on, and we can talk more of it when it gets over. However, it's a golden opportunity to connect with all our maritime neighbors and the maritime world to ensure that our economy grows fast. I will now quickly come down to the history of maritime and coastal security. India became independent in 1947, and it fought a number of wars after that. In the 1947 war, which was fought with Pakistan, there was no conflict in the maritime domain. There was hardly any movement as far as the Indian Navy was concerned. The next war we fought was in 1962, which was fought in the Himalayas. Again, there was no maritime warfare involved. The third war we fought was in 1965 with Pakistan, that lasted for nearly 4 weeks. There was very little action in the maritime domain, except that Pakistanis fired on our Dwarka post. As far as 1971 war is concerned, that was the golden moment as far as our maritime forces were concerned, because that is the time when Pakistan was cut into two halves, Bangladesh became independent, and Indian Navy fought well. It attacked the Karachi port, in which it destroyed two of the Pakistani warships. In addition to that, INS INS Virat also took part in the war on the Bangladesh front, and it definitely helped to ensure that Pakistanis could not escape from Bangladesh from the seaside. So that was definitely a golden moment. As far as the war was concerned, there was hardly anything that happened in the maritime domain at that point of time. So when we talk of maritime security, coastal security, you have various security forces like the Coast Guard, like the Navy, the police, the Indian Army, the Indian Air Force, the CISF, Border Security Force, Water Wing, etc. What is their roles? What exactly they do? This is something we will talk in the days to come. Then there's an aspect of coastal security of our island territories of Andaman Nicobar Islands as well as Lakshadweep Islands. Then we have a coastal community which stays along the coastline. Now, these nearly 15% of India's population stays on the coastline. So they are very important as far as India's economic welfare is concerned. In addition to this, today we should also look at as to what kind of a threats that we have from the sea. Now, if you look at the threats are common to the sea borders as well as to the land borders. The threats are both conventional and unconventional. Conventional would mean wars with the neighboring countries, especially Pakistan and China. Unconventional threats would mean uh, the terrorist using the sea route to carry out an attack on our coastal cities like Mumbai, like it happened in 26/11. Bomb blast material being landed on our coastline, as it was done on the Raigad coast for the 1993 blast, etc. Fake Indian currency notes coming from there, drugs coming from the sea, smuggling taking place from the sea, a lot of illegal trade which takes place with the Gulf countries from the sea line, etc. So these are various challenges. Not only that, if you go towards the Andaman Nicobar side at the Malacca Strait, piracy was rampant. Now, of course, that is reduced. Towards African side on the Somalian coast, the piracy was there. It was almost coming near the Indian coast. Now it has been controlled. So these are the various unconventional as well as conventional threats to India's security. Now, when we look at the coastal security history, we realize that as far as the unconventional warfare is concerned, the first threat to our security came in 1970s. In the 1970s, smuggling increased so much that it was found that our maritime security forces were not adequate to stop them. In fact, they could hardly catch any of the smugglers. So therefore, a new security force that was formed, that was the Indian Coast Guard, because that was the same time when United Nations Convention on Laws of Seas came into being, and they gave you what is called as the territorial waters. They defined what is called as the exclusive economic zone. They defined what is called as the extended exclusive economic zone, which simply means from the coastline today 200 nautical miles sea is called as the exclusive economic zone, and we have a lot of rights in that area. And nearly 350 kilometers from the coastline is called as the exclusive economic zone. We have a lot of economic rights there. More of it when we continue in the series on protection of our coastline, protection of our EEZ, protection of our extended EEZ. So that is so. Therefore, this law came into play, and it gave us so much of sea that the sea area today, which is under our control, is more than the land area. So therefore, we must protect it. However, we could hardly protect it. The maritime security forces launched operation which was called as Operation Tasha and Operation Swan. These were the operations to stop smuggling, oblique landing taking place from the Gulf countries, oblique from Pakistan. But they hardly could beat with success. In the 80s, we had a problem with Sri Lanka when LTT as a terror force came into being, and a lot of movement was taking place from the Sri Lankan coast onto our Tamil Nadu coast. We tried to stop it, we could not succeed. It continued so much that one of our prime ministers, Sri Rajiv Gandhi, was killed by a terrorist who had come from Sri Lanka. The Indian Army fought a bitter war with LTT for nearly 3.5 years in Sri Lanka, which is called as Operation Pawan. But we could hardly seal the Sri Lankan coastline because Sri Lanka was an island country, and it would have been easy to seal it up so that no ammunition, arms, etc. were given to the LTT, but we could not do it. So therefore, that was definitely our weak point. The Operation Tasha, Operation Swan, they continued. They continue now also, but not with very little results to show for. After that, 93 bomb blast, the coastal security was looked up in a very big way, and lot of improvements took place as far as coastal security was concerned. Uh, and it was in 99 after Kargil that the committee called the Kargil Review Committee. It is for the first time laid down threats to India's coastal security and maritime security. And Sri Madhav Godbole, who was Home Secretary at that point of time, was responsible for preparing a report on what needs to be done as far as our coastal areas are concerned. So, birth of Indian Coast Guard, ensuring that coastal police were also involved in it, improving intelligence setup, improving force level, improving facilities, improving radar, etc. A lot of improvement took place. But after the Kargil Review Committee report, however, the biggest push that was given to our coastal and maritime security was post 26/11 attack when 10 terrorists came from the sea. They landed up at Kulaba, Machimar Nagar. From there, they held the city of Mumbai to ransom for nearly 3 days, lost nearly 200 people, and an economic capital of the country was held to ransom. The NSG came, NSG consisting of the army commandos killed 8 terrorists, and one was captured, Kasab, and one was killed by another army man, Assistant Sub Inspector Tukaram Obade, who after leaving the army had joined the Mumbai police. 2611 gave a tremendous push to the India's coastal security architecture. And what is the status today? We'll talk about it in the next set of series. However, what has happened now is we have set up a series of radars. We have set up a series of sensors along the coastline. The feed from them comes into the district headquarters of Indian Coast Guard. From there, it goes to the joint operational centers. There are 4 of them located at Mumbai, which looks after the western coast. Southern coast is looked after by Cochin. Then we have Visakhapatnam, which looks after the eastern coast. And then you have the Port Blair, which obviously looks after the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So that maritime domain awareness has now definitely improved. However, the biggest weakness as far as today is concerned, that nearly 3.5 lakh fishing vessels which are there still do not have an identity on them. That is the electronic identity called as the AIS, Automatic Identification System, which gives an identity to a vessel. So these are certain weaknesses. So as far as history is concerned, history offers us a lot of lessons. We must study them. We must ensure that the mistakes which we made in the earlier years are not repeated. Mistakes on the coastline, mistakes for coastal security, mistakes for maritime security, and we ensure that our coastal security and maritime security becomes foolproof. As far as the Sagarmala thing is concerned, it is going on in a very positive way. And today, now another next 2 minutes, I must stop. So this is one thing which is generating a maximum amount of economy, maximum amount of revenue. It is going to help us. And when the last summit was held, that time very nicely in the concluding remarks, the prime minister or the minister of that at that point had said that the Indian ship is well equipped for a long haul. Do not miss it. Missing it would mean missing a pleasant journey and a great destination. What he meant was India is a great destination as far as economics of maritime domain are concerned. And then he further goes on to say, once you are here, I assure you that I'll personally hold your hand to see that your coming there is safe, secure, and satisfactory. That means we'll help you to grow on our coastline. And finally, to end up, I will end up by quoting a most appropriate quote, which says that it is very clear that the challenges to maritime security are both conventional and unconventional. And when you look at the asymmetric challenges, which is what we are going to face in the days to come, it's a challenge that requires a strategy that pivots on domain awareness. Domain awareness means you must be able to see what is happening along the waters in your coastal and maritime zones. You also must see the air above it, what is happening there. You must also know as to what kind of an activity is taking place under your water. That is called as the domain awareness. Second is you must have an effective intelligence. The resources of security forces, maritime or land-based, will always fall short. So if you have an actionable intelligence, you can stop a threat before it becomes a big problem. And third, of course, is once you have an intelligence, then you must have a credible armed response, which will come from the Coast Guard or the Navy or from the armed forces as will be required. So I think I have today given you a very brief overview of India's coastal and maritime security. I spoke very briefly about what is happening as far as these two aspects are concerned today, and I gave you a very brief of India's history of coastal and maritime security. If you have any questions, you can always write to KAMRI and send questions. We'll be very happy to answer them in our next session. I'll stop here now. If you have liked this presentation, do share it with as many friends as possible and do like our page. Thank you very much and Jai Hind.